Another week of suggestions box to make Overwatch a better game. Hopefully, if these suggestions are good or bad, I'll let you know. First suggestion, if someone on your team in comp leaves and your team loses, you should lose percentage because you were at a disadvantage. Same scenario though, if your team wins the game as a 4v5, you should receive more percentage. I've had quite a few leavers this season. It's so frustrating to lose a winnable game because of it and not get any sort of consolation. So I recently just answered this in the hot takes video, but maybe if you missed that, let me re-answer it again. Something interesting I want to point out. If someone on your team leaves and your team loses, I think the hot take earlier was that they should not lose anything. And you're saying you lose less percentage, which might actually be workable mathematically. But the biggest thing here is if you have a leaver right now, you should not. You should lose because it's A, easily abusable. You have that one duo or that one throwaway account in a stack, and whenever things look bad or dicey, they leave. Then all of a sudden you lose nothing. That is terrible for the algorithm and matchmaker because then they have no idea, like it gets abused and exploited very, very easily. That's the first thing. And the second part is the winning team. If you win, you should win, right? If you win a 4v5, you still win percentage. So like if one team has a person who leaves and they lose nothing, and a team that wins SR or rating, and the person didn't lose it, then you only have a gainer but no loser, and that fucks the whole balance up. So that can't work. That being said, I actually think there is a world where you still lose, but you lose like slightly less for a lever. You have to be careful to make it not abusable. But for the winning side, I think it actually can work. If on the flip side, I think it can work if the 4v5 team ended up winning the 4v5. They could be rewarded for a small bit, but that would need to be tweaked a little bit as a crazy modifier because it's hard to abuse, because winning a 4v5 is like not something that like is very it's an incredible disadvantage, but it might incentivize people to stick it out and pray that they reconnect if they happen to leave because of a disconnection. So in some world, winning the 4v5 could grant you a little more. That could be something, and then losing the 4v5 could be a little bit of a bigger loss. Like, damn, you guys fucked up. You guys lost a fucking 4v5. What's wrong with you? You know what I mean? So the suggestion in a nutshell, I don't think we can have that happen for mathematical reasons, but the opposite, maybe. But we put it on the for now, but you know. Suggestion, give all characters a T-posing emote would make for a good laugh and they would get rich. I agree. I think T-posing should be one of the default emotes for all of them. It would probably be used over a lot of the emotes in the game, which is probably why they're not doing it, but I agree. I think they should, like a bear ones, or at least make them T-pose in the hero gallery so you can see them do it like before you like dress them up into other emotes. So I mean, yeah, why not? But I know for money reasons they won't do it. Suggestion, Blizzard should add a real unranked mode. Make it the same rules as comp. For example, both teams get a chance at attacking or defending. The game time changes. Move the lever penalties from quick play to this mode so quick play has none. This makes quick play the casual mode of it without a worry of a timeout if they have to leave. And then even quick play could even be moved to the arcade. I don't disagree with the true unranked mode. I think we had it during the Overwatch beta, and I actually realized after playing it a bit, I didn't like it as much as I thought I would because of the time investment. The thing with this game is that it's frustrating when like you don't have great teammates and you know people aren't working together. No one's really in voice comms in quick play. What are the chances people are barely in voice comms in comp, and it's like a slog fest when you're losing. You have to tank out both sides of a match. If the unranked game isn't going very well, you're just stuck in there for so freaking long, and then I just don't think the game mode would be popular. I think they could just throw it out there as a tester, kind of like how they did competitive mystery heroes. If you can suck up the long queue times, it could probably work, but I actually don't think it would be as successful as people think, but it doesn't hurt to try. So, I mean, add it, and then if it's not cooking, don't do it. Or don't keep it anymore. That's actually one of the better things I like about quick plays. It's quick, and even if it's going bad, you're done in 5-10 minutes, tops. Suggestion, make streamer mode only available to people who are currently online streaming on a platform. We already have a link to our accounts for Twitch drops anyways. It is being abused far too often to add an extra bit of protection for people smurfing / cheating. It's tough because from the perspective of a streamer and content creator, aka me, I'm trying to think of it from the lens of how you guys see it, like a person who is not a public figure. While I agree, if streamers are the only ones that have like a generated name, wouldn't it be easy to tell that A, there's a streamer in this game, and then B, they'd be like, oh, we can just target them. They may not know who we are right away, but like they're like, oh, they're a streamer, then we should just do something funny with them, which kind of defeats the purpose of it. It's either an all or nothing kind of thing. For it being abused to add protection for people smurfing and cheating, that I 100% agree with. It's true. It's one of the byproducts of this mode. To counteract that, like, there's pros and cons for both. That's definitely one of the big cons of streamer mode. The pros of it is it helps a lot of the content creators and pros and people who are public figures, but it can also help, you know, the casual player as well. Stay anonymous. People don't be like, hey, you Mercy Slayer 69, like, I don't like you because of this, and then I can see all your info. And like, believe it or not, you may run into the same people in the queues, even if you're not a high rank. The anonymous mode's very helpful for like 10% plus of the population. Diamond plus, you run into the same people, especially if you play around the same time every night or every evening or whenever. It'll happen and you become known a little bit. I'm not sure how it is in gold. If any of you guys are like in a silver gold lobby, and let me know if you actually run into like randomly the same people and you actually remember, oh, this is like a Rhine one trick I remember. Like, there is use cases where the streamer mode can be helpful there, right? In any case, I don't think this is the right approach for it. It's either an all or nothing for streamer mode, for me at least, or anonymous mode. I don't like calling it a streamer mode because I think anonymous mode is a better way to put it, because you can just, you know, just hide a little bit. I mean, I was using it in Valorant, even if I'm not even a streamer. I don't even have a streamer name, you know? But I just like being called Jet versus someone calling me by my name if I'm playing bad. Suggestion: in Mystery Hero, you should retain your ultimate charge after you die. Agreed. So I play a custom game mode made by Cactus Puppy with my viewer games. We play mystery heroes, but it's like mystery everything. So when you spawn as a different hero, you keep all your ult charge, but when you press your ultimate, you get a random ultimate at the same time. So in the neutral without your ult, you play a different hero every time, and then every time you press your ult, it's a roll of the lottery, and it's a little chaotic, and it's pretty fun. I think myself and our whole community loves retaining the ult charge. So I mean, yeah, no brainer for me. I think that'd be a fun addition to the base game. Suggestion: Lifeweaver is very awkward because the biggest cause of his awkwardness is his healing. He's the definition of a heal bot support, but I believe there's 3 things to rework. A, the pedal should rework the healing lingers like 20 HP per 5 seconds, and healing the target resets the timer. This way, Lifeweaver doesn't feel like he's only healing when he's healing when it lingers. For his thorns, I believe his thorns should cause a bleed, like a tick mark, like Widow Mine. This can increase his damage, and the more thorns it hits on a target, the bleed resets the timer to 5 seconds, so it can be a playmaker rather than a character. Oh, and delete pedal platform with the change, where you can throw seed bombs in a small area that causes a slowness. I don't necessarily hate these designs on paper. Maybe the first one is a bit of the linger one's kind of I don't like too much because he's already pumping out a lot of raw healing, but the thorns doing like a little bit of a bleed after a certain time, wouldn't be like 5 seconds, but a small bleed afterwards has use cases where it delays the onset of, you know, the healing passive for supports, or Mercy's passive, or, you know, the global healing passive. So I like that idea, and it can kind of like slow down the regen of shields when you're like blasting, like, you know, Rhine shield down and stuff. That one seems good. But the deleting pedal platform, I like the seed bomb idea, like a slow AoE throw, but I think we could just throw it on a different hero. I think pedal platform is a really cool design. I just think it could be iterated a bit more. I've mentioned it in many of these suggestion box episodes with manual control of the elevator lift. If you don't control it, it'll like go to its fixed distance, and then a little bit of a delayed onset, and you can choose how high it goes. That's my suggestion for it, and I kind of like have been throwing out a lot of other people's pedal platform suggestions out the window. But this one's not really a suggestion. This one's just a removal and rework and turn it into something else ability, which is, you know, just throw it on a different support hero eventually. They gotta cook many more support heroes over the next couple of, like, however long this game lasts, and throwing like a seed bomb or basically an AoE slow is probably not out of the picture for future support heroes. So I'm kind of in the middle. I kind of like the middle one, your bleed suggestion, but the first two, nah. Game suggestion: tanks should only earn ultimate points from damage mitigation. In Overwatch 1, mitigation was too powerful of a tool to give tanks ult charge with, especially with the rise of infinite shield type meta. However, with one tank in Overwatch 2, damage mitigation isn't the same issue. Instead of damage mitigation being mandatory for team survival and ult charge denial like in Overwatch 1, in Overwatch 2, it's more a means for survival for the sole tank on your team, bracket passives, close bracket. If ult points are assigned to tank mitigation, it may deter players from ult farming the tank or poking damage. Conversely, dive will get stronger as tanks can now take the risk for some potential ult economy. Obviously, the question of what the conversion rate should be, like 1 damage mitigated equals 1 ult point. That may be more powerful, etc., etc. A lower conversion rate may be needed. I think the idea of mitigation offering some sort of incentive isn't like a bad idea on paper, but no way should that be your only way to generate your ultimate. I think that kills the entire concept of like how the game should be played, where you have to, like, tanking is not just absorbing damage, it's making space in many ways besides, you know, on top of mitigation. Mitigation is just a tool, so is applying damage pressure and having some lethality and walking forward and using stuff to enable your team so they can play make. Like, I think those are all parts and tools of the game. That being said, you could have a very minor reward for it, but I think very, very low, because some heroes mitigate much more than others, and it'd be another balancing nightmare if all the ratios were equal with the blanket conversion. We've seen the uprising and the noise that people have been making with global stuff that applies to all roles. I feel like people aren't really a fan of things because it works better on some heroes than others. For example, Hanzo, old DPS passive with like infinite ammo, is useless on him because it's a blanket global change for the role. The global tank change for mitigation, some benefit way more than others. So it's like, if you do add it, it has to be tuned for each individual tank, or it would have to be a very, very marginal amount, but still rewarding enough, but very marginal. So it's like, no, but like maybe you have something there that they could cook with, but it's leaning much more on the no for me. Suggestion: they should change KarQ Suzu to be like a Fortify ability, but without the damage reduction, so that you can actually use it as an anti-CC tool and get rid of the immortality. This way you can Suzu, let's say, a Reinhardt, and they can walk forward without fear of being CC spammed. You know, the idea of giving somebody a small moment where they're immune to CC isn't that bad of an idea. The problem is the duration. Like, technically Zarya already does it, right, with her 2 bubbles. If you press a bubble on someone, they can't be CC'd or stunned, because like, you throw a rock at a bubble, like nothing happens, or a spear or a sleep dart at a bubble, nothing happens. So it's actually like, when I first read it, I was like, why would you give them like a tank, a walking Fortify? But it could work. It actually could work the more I think about it. It'd probably be not Fortify's like 3 or 4 second duration, like a 1 second duration where they're invulnerable to any incoming CC for that brief moment. I don't hate it. Could be a new support ability rather than reworking Suzu again, but I don't hate it. I actually like it. Suggestion: I think they should add some of the community crafted game mode ideas to the actual game itself. I think some of these changes they cooked up are excellent. Yeah, agreed. The one that Emong put in for Reinhardt, and if you haven't seen those, look back a couple of patch notes where it's community crafted at the beginning of season 11. I think I covered it on my main channel for all the patch notes, but some of them are good. Agreed. Suggestion: Overwatch should implement a Overwatch system like CSGO did to help combat cheaters. I'm not too familiar with the Overwatch system. I only learned about it when I googled Overwatch, and I realized that Counter-Strike called their anti-cheating system Overwatch, where the onus is on the community to watch replays to detect cheaters. I'm not really sure how that program is going, whether it's been a success. So I really don't have any, I'm really a question mark here. I can defer to the comments on people who think the system is good or bad who played CSGO, but to me on paper, like, letting the community decide who's a cheater or not just creates a giga amount of self-positives. You would need a lot of people to review the same one to build a confidence level, and even then there could be some mistakes or misnomers which would cause like an uprising if someone of a notable figure got accidentally banned just because they got targeted by people. I'm sure they could make it anonymous and stuff for the replays, but people even that good at detecting cheats, if it's not blatant, it's very hard to detect really subtle cheats, and I think people would be really wrong in a lot of cases. I wouldn't say leave it up to the Overwatch system. They should have a better anti-cheat system, period, and not leave it to the community to fish this stuff out. That's kind of whack to me. Okay, last suggestion is you shouldn't be able to hear outside your spawn room on attack or defense on hybrid and escort maps. It results in immediate counter swapping, and it puts you at a disadvantage if you're joking around and using emotes and voice lines before the game starts. I mean, if you're defending, there's no way you ever hear the attackers anyways because your spawn room's really far, but the defenders can walk up to the attacker side and the attackers can see what they're playing. But why don't the defenders just like not show themselves depending on the map? I think most maps, I don't think they even do. Like on Eichenwald, if you're defending, like how the hell is the attackers to see you unless you're literally peeking over? Same with Dorado, same with almost all of them. I mean, I don't think it would hurt to like just mute all sound outside for sure, but like in general, this is just like some shenanigans if people are just messing around. But I mean, it doesn't hurt to add, sure. But it's a pretty like giga low priority for the team if they were to do something like that. Anyways, that's all the suggestions that I'm gonna cover this week. Thanks for listening to me, App. See you next week.